This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Mannarino.
Hey everybody, welcome to PIX on Politics Daily. I'm Dan Mannarino. It is November 13th, and hopefully everybody is doing well. Big couple announcements for you. Next week, I'll be sitting down one-on-one with the mayor-elect, Zoran Mamdani. So stay tuned for that, and send me some questions you have for him. I always like to bring your questions directly to him, and we will have that sometime for you next week. But this week, we were talking about you never have a dull moment in politics, right? So we were talking about New York and the congressional races. Yesterday, we talked about Jack Schlossberg and how he announced that he was running for Congress, right? And now we have another challenger in what's becoming a very crowded field. And you may know the name, Erik Bottcher, city councilman, has now jumped into the race for New York 10, right? New York 10. 12. New York 12. I get all my numbers mixed up because I never know what race I'm talking about when. But it is becoming a crowded field. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
And let me talk about the timing of it all for you in announcing that you are running for Congress. You and I have talked many times about the fact that you wanted to potentially run for Congress, and here we are. What made you finally say, I'm doing it?
We opened an account in early October as I was exploring this run. And in our first day, we raised $683,000, and it's just been an incredible outpouring of support. Last week, I was reelected to the city council. We got 90% of the vote in what is a major quadrant of New York 12, and just the encouragement and support has been incredible. And so today, I announced my candidacy. I'm going to be running for United States Congress to represent my community and all of New York 12.
New York 12 is very interesting because it was redistricted, and when the lines were redrawn, so it combined both the east side and the west side. So it begins at 14th Street, east side, west side, all the way past Central Park. So there's a large swath of Manhattan that you'll be representing, right? What do you see as the issues for that area before I get into some of the other issues of all the people who are running?
Well, all residents of New York 12 who care about democracy are extremely concerned about the future of our country. And that's the reason I'm running, is because I love our country. I love our city, and things need to change before it's too late. I have a very different story than most of the candidates in this race. I'm not from New York City. I'm from a very small town in the Adirondacks, where I fled bigotry, and I was isolated. I attempted suicide as a youth. I spent a month in a mental health hospital and found my way to New York City, where I found a community that accepted me, a city that welcomed me. And I've dedicated my life to giving back to the city that saved mine. And now I want to take that fight to Congress and to fight for our country. I want to tell you another issue that's one of my key priorities that's deeply affecting the residents of New York 12, and that is the mental health crisis. This is something I want to start a national dialogue about, the mental health crisis, because you can't walk far in any neighborhood of New York 12 without seeing how badly we've failed with respect to mental health, something I'm going to be talking about a lot over the next 8 months.
So, I just want to pull up my notes here because I talked about the announcement coming a day after Jack Schlossberg. And for those who don't know, he's 32 years old, lives in Chelsea, grandson of JFK. But you're joining this very crowded field. Micah Lasher, he's a state assemblyman. He is who Congressman Nadler, whose seat this is his protege. He's seemingly supporting Micah. Alex Borez, another state assemblyman. Liam Elkins, who's a 26-year-old, a nonprofit founder. And now you among some others. So it's a crowded field here. And you're doing this a day after Jack Schlossberg. Many folks have come out and said, well, he's a New Yorker, but what has he actually done besides having a big social media platform? And he seems to be the big name that everyone's talking about right now. What is your response to him jumping in the race? And do you think he has a platform?
I welcome him into the race. I welcome all the candidates, and I really look forward to over the next 8 months putting our records up against each other and our visions up against each other. I'm going to present my record as someone who's been fighting in our district for many, many years as an activist, as a city council member, fighting alongside the residents of New York 12, fighting the right wing. I had right-wing extremists invade my home, vandalized my office. They were arrested in my lobby. One of them was arrested for vandalizing my neighbor, and we didn't back down. We stood up.
Mhm.
It was about my defense of drag story hour. I've been fighting for over 15 years in our community as a city council, generating thousands of units of affordable housing, leading the fight on mental health in New York City, passing groundbreaking gun safety legislation, and much, much, much more. I'm going to be talking about these accomplishments over the next few months because people don't want to send speech makers to Washington. We have many, many, many people in Washington who are really, really good at giving great speeches. I've heard some really great speeches given from the floor in Washington, great orators. But when you look at what they've done, there's not a whole lot being produced by
Are
many
you
members of Congress in
just
Washington.
describe Jack as that, as a
No,
speechwriter?
what I'm saying though is that you have to look at what people have done to be sure of what kind of legislator they're going to be.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of our record here in New York.
You're also announcing a key day here. It's the day after the longest government shutdown in history. And the government is now reopening. But there's been a split among Senate Democrats and some House members in the party about whether or not they should have voted yes or no on this. So as you now are looking at this larger platform, and your voice and your vote would be very pivotal in a moment like this, what do you think should have happened?
I don't know anyone who wasn't disappointed by what happened with this vote. We had a huge, huge win on election night. And then a few days later, we just folded like a deck of cards. And it just handed, in my opinion, the Republicans a win because this is their shutdown. Donald Trump caused this shutdown. The American people, as these subsidies, these healthcare subsidies come to an end, are about to experience real, real pain. This is very personal to me. My brother and my sister-in-law and my niece and nephew, they depend on those ACA subsidies for their healthcare. It is vital that we get these healthcare subsidies restored. So I'm extremely worried that we've lost our leverage by caving like this. I'm very hopeful that perhaps we'll find a way to make it happen, but very disappointed by the Democrats in the way we folded.
So what did the Democrats get out of it, right? Because many would say, well, the government was shut down for 42 days. And what did the Democrats get?
It's a very good question. Very good question.
What do you think then, as you now, it's different to be, I guess, a Democrat in the city council than to be a Democrat in the House. You're surrounded by folks who are trying to be centrist in a lot of areas. So should the Democrats who voted yes, or should they be held accountable?
Look, at the end of the day, we have to hold all Democrats accountable for the way they're leading in Washington. And I think that people around the country want to see the Democrats stand up and fight. We need to stand up and fight for our country, stand up and fight for our health care. And we want people in Washington who believe that a better future is possible if we fight for it. Things don't have to be this way. So that's what we saw. We saw a glimmer of that when we refused to extend the budget unless we won healthcare. We have to keep fighting that way.
Should Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, should they be challenged?
I'm not going to say they should be challenged. I think Hakeem in particular has shown a lot of backbone in these past few weeks. He kept his conference together. I want to see what Chuck can do in the next few weeks, because remember, the extension is only through January. So we're going to see what they're made of in the next few weeks. Point is, we need to send Democrats to Washington who can be part of this fight in a meaningful way.
Yes,
to
but
me,
when you say part of a fight in a meaningful way, yes, I hear what you're saying. But do the Democrats have a bit of an identity crisis? And you coming on board, if you were to win, how would you kind of fall into where that identity is?
we need a new generation of leaders in Washington. Our party is very, very old, and it feels that way.
Mhm.
And people are responding to us that way. So it's time for a new generation of leaders in Washington who know how to take on these fights. I think that's a way of breathing new life into our party and breathing new life into democracy. That's what people want to see in Washington.
While this is all going on, we have a new mayor-elect in New York City. You're mentioning the mental health crisis as well. I know you supported Zoran Mamdani going in. Have you had conversation with him post his winning, specifically about targeting an area like mental health?
He's been very busy since he
Yes.
won. I spoke to him before he won, and I'm really excited to sit down with him because, as you know, the district I represent from Soho up to Columbus Circle and includes Times Square, Garment District, Flatiron District, Chelsea Hell's Kitchen, neighborhoods that are deeply, deeply affected by the mental health crisis.
Mhm.
And what we need to do is get those boots on the ground that he was talking about with his Department of Public Safety.
Mhm.
Let's put that into action. But here's one of the problems is that we could do everything right in New York City, but there is a major gap in the mental health continuum with respect to full-time permanent residential treatment options for people with severe mental illness.
Right.
That's going to take federal action. Medicaid needs to pay for mental health services the same way it pays for physical health services. That's not the way things are working.
So how do you get that done? Because right now you have a president who's saying, I don't know if I want to give money to New York for certain programs because they elected, he calls him a communist.
We're going to need to win back the House of Representatives. We're going to have to win back some power in Washington, but we need people in Washington to start a national conversation on this issue. Do you hear people in Washington talking about mental health? I don't. It's critically, critically important because there's not one family in America who's not touched by this in some way.
Okay. I'll leave it there, but I want to have you back soon. It's going to be a long runway for the campaign season, so we'll talk to you many more times. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, and stay tuned because we are going to be reaching out to all the candidates in this very busy race here as we zero in now on the congressional races, right? We move on right from mayoral, and we have next year congressional races as well as the big governor's race as well. Stay tuned next week. Don't forget some of your questions for Zoran Mamdani. I'll bring them directly to him when I talk to him. But in the meantime, have a great day.